Mark here, Rock and Walls Training Center. On this episode, we're going to go ahead and meet Eamon and Jeremy, who are working on their Level 1 DSWA testing. They're doing a pre-test here at Rock and Walls Training Center. So let's head over and meet them. So I'm here with Jeremy. Jeremy's from Pennsylvania. Jeremy, go ahead and tell us a little bit about why you are here today and what your expectations were.
Well, I've been building wall for quite a little, about 8 years, playing with stone and building some wall. And I got with a company recently that was generous enough to help me start one of my lifelong dreams of going through the testing, which is opening my eyes already to a lot of.
And what do you feel the value of getting certified is?
It's important because it's going to make sure I and my crew adhere to the standards that have been employed by the DSWA. To ensure that if I go and teach some other people under me, that they're being taught way more correctly than I may have previously been taught.
Excellent. Well, so with today, we started out by taking the existing wall here and stripping it out. Now, the existing wall was clearly a little bit shorter. We've made it taller to match some of the specs coming up for the test in April here. With the process, when we started out, we did the strip out. Go ahead and talk about the process and what we had talked about with stripping out.
So when I stripped out, what I did was I learned very quickly what kind of room I could play around with and how much I should hug my stones while maintaining a clean work area. First thing I did was take the cap off, put it furthest away, in the same order it came in.
And that's really important. So as you're doing your testing, you want to pick these up and walk them out to the furthest point, stand them up. Pick them up and just keep going and get them all lined up out of the way. Go ahead, continue. Great job.
Immediately I started learning, oh hey, as the wall got down, I realized I had things a little too far away from me. Could have been a little neater, and I was a little messier than I was hoping for.
Which is important, having a good 2-foot space in your work area. You want to be safe, but you don't want things to be too far away, but you don't want to be too crowded. As you're taking things apart, you run out of real estate. And that was one of the things you had mentioned, is you kind of found as you were taking things apart, you could have probably actually gone back a little bit further, correct?
A little bit further, and then my capstones could have been a little bit closer to me. I had them probably a good 5 feet further away than they probably needed to be.
But just a point to make with the caps, to take these off is quick. To put them back on only takes you about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. So these can actually be pretty far out of the way as long as no one else is going to take them, and you know most people know that. So don't lose sleep as to where they are. Just want them out of the way so you have room. Go ahead and continue. So you started disassembly, got all your stone organized. Packing stone, what were you doing with your packing stone?
I was trying to keep it either filling buckets up with it or keep it closest to me. And this particular thing, I kept it right here because I was not building next to someone. When I will be building next to someone, I'll keep it further out, probably 2 feet away. That way there's enough space around. But that was one thing I wanted to make sure is that it was close to me, because
you had some piles right here. What did you find by having them too close to the wall here? Right. What did it cause later?
Issues with my batter.
Setting
my string line.
So when we went to set the frames, he had his pile of stone there. The frames were kind of in the way. He actually kind of had to move them back. So this something small, these little things all add up.
You don't even think about until you've actually done a pre-test like this.
All right, so continue. So you strip down. Where did the ties go? What did you do with the tie stones?
I took the ties and I put them. I put them right next to my cap.
Yep, furthest out.
Furthest out.
Excellent.
That way I could eyeball them if I needed to look at their thickness, or they didn't, until halfway I did not need them, so they didn't need to be around me.
Got the bottom course out, and typically with the types of stone, maybe while we're just here looking at this, what types of sizes of stone were up here versus what were down here? So first lift, second lift, what was up here versus what was down here?
I tried to use my biggest stones, especially running both deep and thickness, especially in the base, and then as I went smaller, I went to go smaller stones after my first lift.
And that's really important to talk about that right this moment, because you want to know that when you go ahead and disassemble this wall. You take things apart, just get your stuff sorted. There's no specific way to sort stone. It's really what works best for you when you put things back together. So you got you got your foundation stripped out. What what are some of the highest points that you can get on your level 1?
In the foundation.
Foundations, some of the highest points. What would be some of the lowest point category?
Safety.
But safety is important. You know, you are getting points for safety, so make sure you're showing up with safety glasses, watching out for others. If you know you're shaping any stones,
If you twist your ankle, you ain't gonna be able to finish the wall.
yeah. And what's the most important thing? Finish the wall.
Yeah,
You know?
or else you won't pass.
Yep. So you want to finish the wall. By the end of the day, you got wall needs to be finished. All right. So you got your foundation. You worked on that, made sure it was really nice and solid. What was it I said regarding examiners? Sometimes.
Sometimes they will ask you a question and it's more of an answer.
Yep.
Correct.
Possibly. So if an examiner is asking you a question, no one wants to see anyone fail. Everyone's here to help each other out. Examiners, they have to examine you, but if they're standing on your foundation and they're like, oh, are you ready for your foundation and your stone's wobbling, they might actually be telling you that that stone needs to be set. Now, that's just how I found things to work for me, but that doesn't mean that that's really the case. But listen to what the examiner's asking you, okay? Because it might not be a question, it might be an answer. What else? Continue. So you got the foundation, you started getting everything back together.
Started getting everything together. Made sure I moved my string lines up as I went.
Yep.
Packed as I built my courses up.
And what's the most important thing about the packing?
Make sure you don't,
For testing.
try to get the biggest stone in first and then build smaller ones around it. Make sure you fit your fingers in underneath the stone. That way you don't, you're getting the stone level.
And they don't want to see daylight, so you want to make sure your wall is well packed. So make sure you have buckets and get that stone in there. Whatever it takes to get that stone in there, that's what you want to do. Packing is really important, but you don't want to spend all day making it perfect, okay? Because you have to finish the wall in 7 hours.
Yeah, I think I packed a little bit too much. I was also trying to clean up around me at the same time, especially.
So you're moving your string lines up as you go. So let's talk about that briefly. Some of the tools that you found that are really helpful that you kind of think that, you either didn't bring or you should bring to help you continue, because you're supposed to be the professional.
Yeah, a little hand pick I didn't bring, so I'll bring that next time so I have my own. Maybe my own 5-gallon buckets, that way I won't have to worry about them sourcing them for me.
Okay. And what other tools did you bring that you used?
My trimming hammer and my regular mallet hammers. I did use a chisel once, but it was not necessary once I started using my trimming.
Now, time-wise, do you think it's important to be spending a lot of time dressing stones?
No.
Why?
Because you're going to be wasting your time in a way.
Right.
If you don't get the wall up,
7 hours. 7 hours you
and
need
it goes by like
very
lightning.
quick.
Very
Okay.
quick.
Where do you need to be at lunchtime? Because
You have to at least be right here at your your first course.
so if you're not at Tie Stones and you're at the bar because it's lunch, then we got issues. So make sure at tie height is lunchtime. If you're not there, you got to pick up your pace. The day goes by really quick. Excellent point. What else?
And for pacing, that helped me, know where I need a goal that I needed to reach in order to get past that point. But once I got past that point, I did get a little cocky, and do not do that because you still have to build a good portion, half the other wall up, and that's when stone's going to start running out as well.
Now, you're walling at an angle, so let's just let's step back here a second. Jeremy was walling at an angle here where he's tying in, so it's 45-degree angle. He had tying to this wall. Next to here, he was actually tying into another waller. Can you just talk about that experience and what might people
when I was
think about?
It was easier for me with speed-wise to tie in next to the other waller. He happened to be slightly slower than I was, so in that way it was good. I was going ahead of him, so I able to choose what he had to go up. But over
So
here,
you were setting your courses on the outside, so he had to work to your stone, not you working to his stone. It's little stuff
and out
like
of
that.
courtesy, I made sure they weren't crappy. But
Good communication with your neighbors is good, but the bottom line is you're trying to get done in 7 hours. So if you have to be faster, you want to be faster on the outsides next to your neighbors. You don't want to stick them with bad choices, but it needs to be your choices, and you need to be fast and just build in. That's something to think about. What else? So tools, we covered tools, we covered ties. You know, you got to your second lift, you're using the smaller stone. Any other little things that you found, like working next to someone, you were doing a great job communicating. Communicating is really key. Anything else, just like safety-wise or tool-wise?
Another thing with working, when you're working next to someone, communicate is key for the string lines. Because when I'm going faster, I have to move my lines up and he has to make sure he's got lines where he needs them, not going off of mine. Because if I'm a foot ahead of him, you're going to have a bulge or a cannonball in your wall.
Now, one thing that we haven't touched base on, and some stuff showed up here later, but what's the first thing you should do when you're basically assigned your section? What do you want to do?
Scan your section and scan your surroundings.
So scan your wall, look at it. You want to take
good.
And do what with the wall? What are you scanning when you're looking at the wall?
Your thicknesses, if you have lots of long ones already, what type of stone you're looking at towards the end, and then once you do that, start looking at what stone you have available.
Yeah. If there's more stone around you and you know you're doing this section, you want to basically take a quick inventory. Don't just be off, you know, thinking that, you know, I'm getting ready to strip a wall apart. You want to say, oh, I got this pallet here, there's some packing stone. Make sure you know what's around you to work with. Know your ingredients.
And it slowed me down a little bit trying to build with what just was in front of me, because typically you don't have a choice on the field. On this particular thing, you do have a choice to go run over and grab a stone if it's going to save 5 minutes.
And that's a good point. The bottom line with dry laid stone, it's all about making good choices. Stones teach us life lessons every time we touch them. And what was I saying about a stone versus a rock?
The difference between a stone and a rock?
Yeah.
A rock is just a rock sitting out in the field, but a stone is a stone that's been picked up and worked by a man.
And which one's more?
Stone.
So basically, the bottom line is a rock is unemployed stone. Okay? That's all you have to remember. Anything else? I think that's about it, man. It's a great time, man. Do you have a good time?
Yeah.
All right. Great day.
Great day. We were blessed by some good weather.
Yeah.
We couldn't ask for
Suntan
anything.
lotion, something else to bring.
Yeah, I probably got a little sunburn, but I'm welcoming it after this winter.
Well, that's it. I paid them a lot of money to do this video, but no, listen, if you're testing, think about these key things. There's a lot more. There's a lot of great information on the DSWA's website. Really practice and just take your time and commit to getting certified. It will teach you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.